Let me tell you something that rocked the NBA world this postseason, and no, it has nothing to do with what happened on the court. While the Houston Rockets were fighting for their playoff lives, Kevin Durant was at the center of a story so strange, so layered with suspicion and silence that it started looking like something far bigger than a busted ankle. The word banned started circulating. People were losing their minds. So let's slow down and get to the truth, because the real story here is far more complicated than any headline could capture. The 2026 playoffs were supposed to be Kevin Durant's redemption arc. After the Suns shipped him to Houston in what became the largest trade in NBA history, a 7-team monster deal that sent Durant to the Rockets in exchange for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th pick in the 2025 draft, and a stack of second-rounders, the plan was crystal clear. KD would instantly turn the Rockets into a championship contender. And for an entire regular season, he delivered exactly that. He came into the playoffs averaging 26 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 4.8 assists. He played 78 games. He logged 2,140 minutes, the most he had played in 12 years, second only to his own teammate Amen Thompson league-wide. This was not a guy phoning it in. This was a 37-year-old putting up Iron Man numbers and daring anyone to question his commitment. Then the playoffs hit, and everything unraveled fast. It started on April 15th when Durant bruised his right knee in practice and was ruled out for Game 1 against the Lakers. Houston lost that one 98-107 without him. Coach Ime Udoka kept the tone calm. Imaging showed nothing structural, just limited movement, nothing serious. Durant was back for Game 2, playing 41 minutes and dropping 23 points. But something was clearly off. He had 9 turnovers that night, a career playoff high. And with about 7 minutes left, chasing Luke Kennard on a defensive possession, he rolled his ankle. He never left the game. He played through it to the final buzzer. But the next morning, the swelling told a different story. Durant was ruled out for Game 3 with a sprained left ankle. And here is where the story starts going sideways in a way nobody expected. He wasn't just out, he was gone. Not on the bench, not in the building, not visible anywhere. While his team was playing a must-win playoff game in Houston, Kevin Durant was reportedly getting treatment somewhere else, running on an underwater treadmill, according to Coach Udoka. The Rockets, without their $50 million franchise cornerstone, proceeded to blow a 6-point lead in the final 30 seconds of regulation and lost in overtime 112-108, falling to 0-3. They became just the second team in 30 years to lose a playoff game after leading by 6 or more points with under 30 seconds left in regulation. Before that night, teams in that situation were 17,130-1. The backlash was immediate and vicious. In the NBA, injured superstars show up. They put on suits, they sit courtside, they're in the huddle during timeouts. It's not written in any rule book. It's just what you do for your team. Durant skipped all of that, and the optics were catastrophic. ESPN's Dave McMenamin reported that Durant's own teammates had no real idea what was going on with him. And then came the quote that broke everything open. Amen Thompson, one of the Rockets' most important young players, was asked how Durant was feeling, and his answer was devastating in its honesty. He said simply, "To be honest with you, I don't know." That quote exploded across the NBA. Your teammate is hurt during an elimination series and your best young player doesn't know how he's doing? That signals a total communication breakdown inside the locker room, and people noticed immediately. Bill Simmons didn't hold back either, publicly calling it out. He still didn't understand why Durant wasn't with his team for Game 3, pointing out that Durant had only won 2 playoff series since 2019 and his team was down 0-2 in a must-win moment. Rockets fans were furious. Social media turned on him fast. The word people kept using, and it's a loaded word, was quit. Not sprained, not hurt. Quit. Fans were saying he quit on another team, that no franchise should want him, that he was already mentally out the door. But here's where the facts have to cut through the noise, because the narrative was outpacing the reality. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, Durant's injury had a specific medical diagnosis, a bone bruise inside the sprained ankle, the kind of injury that sidelines players for 2 to 3 weeks even in the regular season. A bone bruise is not a simple sprain. It's deep trauma to the bone itself. It causes severe inflammation, stiffness, and dramatically limits range of motion. For a player like Durant, whose entire offensive game is built on explosive cuts, precision footwork, and the ability to stop on a dime and elevate over a defender, losing ankle mobility doesn't just make him worse. It makes him dangerous to himself and largely ineffective. He was getting around-the-clock treatment but still hadn't been cleared by doctors. That is not Durant's call to make. That's a medical staff looking at a man with a compromised ankle and saying, "Not yet." And then there's the context people kept glossing over. The Lakers, the team beating the Rockets, were themselves missing Luka Doncic due to a hamstring strain and Austin Reeves with an oblique injury. Their two best players weren't playing, and yet a 41-year-old LeBron James was out there dragging a shorthanded roster to a 3-0 series lead. That contrast was uncomfortable for the Durant conversation, and it only got louder. Durant was ruled out for Game 4 as well. 3 of the first 4 playoff games missed after playing 78 regular season games. The questions about his future in Houston were already starting before the series was even over. Now, to really understand why the fake injury narrative gained so much traction, you have to look at the history that follows Kevin Durant wherever he goes. This is a man who left Oklahoma City, the franchise that built its entire identity around him, to join a Golden State Warriors team that had just beaten him and won 73 games. It remains the most debated free agent decision in modern NBA history. Then came the Brooklyn drama, the trade demand, the Phoenix disappointment. The Suns went 33-29 with him and missed the playoffs entirely. And now, in his first year in Houston, he's absent for 75% of the first-round playoff series. 4 franchises, 4 chapters that ended in controversy or sudden departure. The details change, trade requests, injury absences, but the pattern looks hauntingly familiar to the people who have watched his career up close. NBA analyst Kevin O'Connor put the situation bluntly. The right decision, medically speaking, was to sit. The series was over. There was no reason to risk further damage to an ankle that could compromise the rest of Durant's career. But he added the line that really stuck. The only real question was whether Durant would still be in Houston next season, and that's the part that cut deepest. People weren't just talking about the playoffs. They were already talking about the exit, but then something happened that nobody saw coming. Without Kevin Durant, the Rockets went out and absolutely demolished the Lakers in Game 4, winning by 19 points, 115-96, and Kevin Durant was there. He was on the bench. He was in that building, fully locked in, visibly fired up, energized, and present. When DeAndre Ayton hit Alperen Sengun with an elbow to the head, got called for a flagrant 2, and was ejected, Durant was right there at the edge of the bench making sure Ayton heard it on his way out the door. That is not the body language of a man who has mentally checked out. That's a competitor who is furious he can't play and refuses to let his team feel alone. So here's the truth, the actual truth behind the headlines about bans and fake injuries and Kevin Durant's so-called exit from Houston. The NBA has not banned Kevin Durant. There are no formal league suspicions about fabricated injuries. There's no conspiracy. What happened was a collision of legitimate medical reality, catastrophic communication failures, historically terrible optics, and a fan base that has been conditioned by years of Durant drama to expect the worst. A bone bruise is real. The medical clearance process is real. Durant's 78-game regular season, second in the league in minutes played at his age, is real. None of that disappears because he wasn't courtside in a suit for one game. But the silence, the absence, the moment when his own teammates shrugged and said he had no idea how KD was doing, that stuff did real damage to his reputation inside and outside of Houston, and it did it fast. The questions about Kevin Durant's future in a Rockets jersey are not going away. No rehab protocol fixes the trust damage done in a single week. Whether Houston advances or goes quietly into the offseason, one thing is certain. The story of Kevin Durant and the 2026 playoffs will be talked about for a long time. Not because he was banned, not because he faked anything, but because even when he's trying to do the right thing, Kevin Durant somehow ends up in the middle of the wrong story.